control the vertigo.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthology with your host Mark. Today we are covering a TV horror anthology series called The Hunger. Now, there's a movie called The Hunger from 1983, and yes, there is a connection. The Hunger from 1983 was Tony Scott's first movie. Tony Scott, the great director and also brother of another great director, Ridley Scott, it directed the feature The Hunger, and it was, I believe, his first feature film. I've not seen it in its entirety, but I've seen bits of it, and it looks very stylish and cool. It's something I keep meaning to get to and never have. But that is the same name in this series, and I believe this is essentially a springboard to try and cover some of the themes from that film and the sort of general dark themes. It was produced by Scott Free Productions, which was a production company created by Ridley Scott and Tony Scott, and it is a British-Canadian sort of crossover series. It originally showed in the UK on the Sci-Fi Channel, and in America, US, it showed on Showtime. In Canada, it showed on the Movie Network, and it aired from 1997 to 2000, 2 seasons. 44 episodes in all. And get this. It always had a host. The first season was Terence Stamp, the actor Terence Stamp, but the second season was David Bowie, who also starred in The Hunger. Interesting. And it was stories about sort of self-destructive desires or obsessions. That was the kind of vibe it was going for. And it was a fairly adult work. It was basically softcore erotica, but some of the themes included vampires, but there was always sort of sex and death mixed up in there, from what I understand. I'm kind of interested to continue watching this. It is on Amazon Prime in the UK, so it's fairly easy to sort of find and watch, and I think it has a certain quality. Now, the first episode is called The Swords, directed by Tony Scott. He didn't direct, or I think that might be the only episode he directed. I'm just having a quick scan through. Oh no, he also directed the first episode of season 2 as well. But some of the other directors included Russell Mulcahy, the guy that directed Highlander. So fairly stylish. I should imagine that's a pretty good one too. And the original story was written by Howard Rodman and Robert Ackman. Now, this particular episode and the next 2, in fact, the first 3 episodes of the season 1, all aired on the same day. So I'm going to guess it was sold as to the audience as something like a feature, or watch the introduction to this series. So all 3 aired on July the 20th, 1997, and season 1 ran for 22 episodes, and season 2 ran for 22 episodes, so 44 in all. So the first one, we'll get into the meat of the first one now. Basically stars Balthazar Getty, who looks strangely like Charlie Sheen in some shots, and then totally unlike him in other shots. So that was kind of interesting. It also stars Amanda Ryan, who's a British actress. So Balthazar Getty's American, but it's kind of this is set in England. It has to be said. Amanda Ryan's in it. She's really good in this. I haven't seen her in much other stuff, but I have to say she's really good in this. There's a lot of nakedness in this show, from the out pretty much. So just be aware of that. Timothy Spall is in it, which is kind of interesting, but only as almost like a cameo. We just see him as like a speaker. He looks like salesman explaining, how they should approach things in a fairly sort of intellectual way, actually. And also we have Jamie Foreman, a young Jamie Foreman. Jamie Foreman's pretty good. We see him later on in a lot of British gangster stuff. He's kind of a bulldog of a man. He's got that sort of aggressive presence. He adds a lot to movies he's in. So quite a good cast there. So, but essentially Balthazar Getty is in London. He comes across as a visitor. He's got a couple of punk friends who are fairly mouthy, and they're gay as well. So I think they're trying to shock in this with these guys, their sort of antics, but it feels a bit quaint now, and to be honest, watching this sort of stuff. But anyway, he does start a relationship with this girl. Now, the girl is Amanda Ryan, that Amanda Ryan plays, is the centerpiece to this act. And the actual episode is, as I said, called The Swords. And the act is a man stabs her with a long sword, pulls it out again, and she doesn't seem to be hurt by this. She can kind of survive it without much trauma, but it's quite an act when you see it. Now, Balthazar Getty comes across as like a bored rich kid American who's just hanging around these punks because he's slumming it and wants to see some more life, and they're kind of crazy. But they go to this club, which I think is supposed to be a gay club, but it's run by Jamie Foreman, whose name is Dean, who obviously hates his clientele. It's kind of homophobic, some of the stuff he comes out with, so just be aware of that. But he's selling a nasty character. That's the thing. But he sort of offers Balthazar Getty's character, who's called James, a special session with this lady who can take the swords. Basically, he's kind of pimping her out, it turns out. And you think at first it's about, he's going to do the act in private. But no, she's there for sex. And that's what she's been paid for. Now, her character name is Muzzidora. Very, very odd name. But there you go. But that they quickly form a relationship. In many ways, it kind of reminds me of True Romance. In fact, they used a piece of music from this, which is, the I think it's like the xylophone music from True Romance, which is kind of weird, to be honest, to see that. But yeah, that's kind of what gets used, and the themes are, this odd couple kind of get into each other, and she can take these swords, and one of his friends also. The punk friends also gets invited up on stage and plunges a sword in her, and he's kind of freaked out. And he wants to do it again, but Jamie Foreman's character gets annoyed with him and basically punches him on the nose, possibly breaks his nose. And there's a lot of kind of highfalutin stuff about, as long as you protect yourself, you're all right. But she falls in love with him, so it doesn't. Basically, spoiler for the next 30 seconds. Basically, by becoming vulnerable, by falling in love with James, the swords start to hurt her, but he kind of winds up slowly there. It's a kind of not a great opening story, but it looks great. It really looks great. I have to say that. All this sweaty sex as well throughout. It's and I recommend it. I am going to continue. I think I'm going to continue watching this series at some point, and if I do, I'll probably talk about it a bit more, but it's quite effective, and it's on Prime, as I say. Looks terrific. Tony Scott directing probably helps a lot. He's just got a talent for that an eye for how to light and film people in a really nice way. If you've ever seen True Romance, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, not a great story, but great to look at, and I was engaged for the whole episode, I have to say. And they run to about 25 minutes, so we're not talking about a major investment of your time. I'm kind of intrigued to see the David Bowie presented ones, but I'm not the type to skip ahead just to have a look. I really want to watch all the first season with Terence Stamp presenting first. It's some interesting stars throughout this series too. For example, episode 2, get this, has Karen Black, Lena Headey, and Daniel Craig. So imagine that. And there's other stars throughout. If you kind of scan, then there's one that intrigued me. There's one episode with Kenneth Welsh, who was the Wyndham Earl in Twin Peaks. So that's kind of interesting. And we have the likes of Margot Kidder, Giancarlo Esposito, Bruce Davison. Joanna Cassidy appears in, and Joanna Cassidy, interestingly, starred in Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. She was one of the replicants. And there's all sorts of other stories. Some of them, for example, written by Harlan Ellison. It's that kind of pedigree. But a lot of the story writers I don't really recognise. So interesting series. I'll give this a recommend. But I think I'll wind out there. But before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to